pleased that the vote went the way it did. I voted no, and one of the reasons I voted no was because of the fact that disability was excluded from the Canada Clause.
I'm told by many disability groups across the country that they've never had a response from within the disabled community on an issue the way they have on this one.
It's, as someone once said, it's the last great human rights struggle.
Hello and welcome to DNet, the Disability Network. I'm Susan Pettit-Crossman. As everyone knows by now, the country has responded to the Charlottetown Accord with a resounding no. On today's program, we'll hear reactions of people with disabilities to that decision on the constitutional referendum. We'll also meet a jewelry maker who's hard of hearing. She's using her craft to produce a unique style of hearing aid. And in Nova Scotia, homeopathic medicine is at the center of controversy as a treatment for disabilities, such as environmental sensitivity and chronic pain. But first, here's this week's roundup of disability news. Saskatchewan is the only province that doesn't have a government attendant care program. The province is trying to get a program off the ground, but people with disabilities think it's taking too long.
Connie Oxelgren lives in the Wascana Rehab Center and spends most of her days in a wheelchair. Even the simple things in life require people to help her. She was hoping a new government program would allow her to have her own home.
So hopefully it'll really, for some individuals, allow them to better participate in society.
But groups that represent the physically disabled are concerned that a proposed attendant care program will be dropped. The program would allow disabled people living in institutions to get their own homes. Home care workers would visit or even live with them.
Comprehensive, flexible, and portable attendant services are essential to enable many people with physical disabilities to go to school, become employed, and assume their rights and responsibilities as full citizens.
Talk of killing the proposed program worries Oxelgren.
I know that there are people that are really waiting for this to be implemented and really quite eager to participate in it. So I think that there is disappointment.
The Deputy Minister of Health says the program isn't coming along as quickly as promised, but it is coming.
But I believe that there has been a misunderstanding about government's position on all this. The government simply has not stop this program at all. They've asked for sensible information to make an informed judgment.
According to the Saskatchewan Voice of the Handicapped, our province is the only one that does not have an attendant service program. Representatives of the government and the physically disabled will meet next week to try to get that program off the ground. Greg Dusowski, CBC News, Regina.
A park has recently opened in Ottawa to accommodate able-bodied children and those with a variety of disabilities. It's a very pleasant surprise to everyone.
Anastasia Bendis is 5 years old and has cerebral palsy. It used to be that when Anastasia came to Brewer Park to play with her best friend Yasmin, Anastasia would have to swing on the toddler swings so she wouldn't fall off. But now, Anastasia and Yasmin can swing together at this new playground that's full of barrier-free equipment.
For my daughter, she can play with her friends and do anything she wants in that park within reason. I don't have to worry about her. I don't have to be there. She can be independent.
Like all 5-year-olds, Anastasia loves to play in the sand. In the old sandbox, she had to be held up the whole time. Now, she can do it on her own. The playground is a joint project between the City of Ottawa and the Community Foundation, an organization that manages charitable funds. They wanted to build a playground that would accommodate a wide variety of disabilities, and for the most part, it's a success.
We've identified a few problems. For example, some parents with children in wheelchairs would like to be able to gain access, direct access to the tic-tac-toe panel to get both hands on the panels. But this is our first try, and we will be, looking at these problems.
But parents like Pat Erb say even with the glitches, and even at a price of $126,000, it's money well spent.
Parents of children with disabilities and adults with disabilities are always fighting. They have to fight for everything they want. This park came to us unexpectedly. It was a wish come true, and we're just really, really pleased.
Tricia McDonald, CBC News, Ottawa.
And that's this week's roundup of disability news. When we come back, we'll take a look at reaction to the constitutional referendum.
Hey, isn't it about time these people all got together? Find out.
Just say the word, sonny boy.
Join host Bill Langstroth for Jubilee Years, a fond look back at the Sing-Along Gang and Don Messer's Jubilee.
Hey boy, what a way to start a show.
Jubilee Years, premiering tonight.
I'm Bill Paul.
And I'm Jackie Perrin.
The new season of Marketplace begins Tuesday with a nationwide test of fresh fish.
We'll have the surprising results of that test and much more as Marketplace returns Tuesday.
At a new time, 7:30, 8 in Newfoundland.
As we saw on DNet 2 weeks ago, a number of disability rights organizations have participated in the constitutional process for a long time. So they were shocked when they were left out of the Canada Clause of the Charlottetown Accord. Many felt that the proposal left them in a situation where they had to choose between their country and their rights as individuals. The Charlottetown Accord was rejected by Canadians on October 26. 54% voted no. 45% said yes. Here's a sample of how disabled Canadians felt about the vote.
I'm not surprised at the outcome. I, like a lot of people, was on the fence and undecided for a long time as to how to vote. It's a major concern. I think that we've taken a bit of a step backward in the sense that if people say that the whole process is now dropped and we're going to have to start from square one, then hopefully the issues of people with disabilities won't have to go back to square one too.
I feel that it's more likely now that people with disabilities will be more included in the consultation, that their issues will be more included. It's, as someone once said, it's the last great human rights struggle.
I'm pleased with the outcome. I thought it was a no. I voted no. I'm very pleased with that. I thought had it been, had people voted yes and had the accord gone through, I think that would have, I don't think that would have been very good for the country.
I'm kind of pleased that the vote went the way it did. I voted no, and one of the reasons I voted no was because of the fact that disability was excluded from the Canada Clause. I think many people who have aspirations and needs need to see their name in the list of those who are included, and many people with disabilities felt that they were excluded from the process.
I'm told by many disability groups across the country that they've never had a response from within the disabled community on an issue the way they have on this one, so that it will be a matter of channeling the energy that has been identified into a number of issues which confront disabled people other than the Constitution. In other words, building the disability movement. That is something which still lies ahead, the strengthening of an already strong movement. It's proven its strength through this experience.
It's important for us to be involved. One thing that people with disabilities, because they've been excluded so long, they have to realize that now is actually the time to get involved, that things are starting to happen, and it's time to take an initiative. Go out there and lobby, talk to your politicians, talk to your, get out in the community, get involved in things.
We need a much stronger charter, one that takes out the notwithstanding clauses and leaves people really empowered to use the law system and all the other systems of our country as citizens. We need a different kind of political process that allows for people to actually get involved and be heard, something like a constituent assembly. We need genuine democracy, which allows the people to be truly represented in the federal and in the provincial systems.
Joining me now is Carol McGregor. She's the Executive Director of Persons United for Self-Help, Push Ontario, and a member of the Ad Hoc Committee of Persons with Disabilities on the Constitution. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How do you feel the disability rights movement will be affected by this constitutional decision?
I think the status quo will remain, Susan, but I think in the future we really have to ensure that we don't lose anything in upcoming discussions if they're reopened on the Constitution. We were very close to losing what equality rights we had ensured, and certainly it was probably due to the fact that the movement is fairly young. We've not been in such high-level negotiations across nationally or provincially as a group. So this was a learning experience for all of us.
What about the unified vote and the unified movement?
Well, this was something that certainly developed when we learned we were excluded from the Canada Clause. And we learned all across Canada that people with disabilities were not willing to accept being excluded out of the Canada Clause. It wasn't the fact that we wanted to politically damage the Accord. We were not willing to lose our rights. And it totally amazed me, the numbers of people that came right across this country. The movement as a whole really grew, and as a result, we have the vote today as it stands, I think.
What are we going to do as a collective group in the next decade to protect our rights?
Well, we have to do two things. We first of all have to do some coalition building. This is the first time that equality-seeking groups have actually been pitted against each other. We've got women's groups against disability groups, racial minorities versus women and disability. We have to do some fence mending. We have to do also some a little bit of fence mending with both the federal and the provincial governments. And I think we negotiated up to the last minute. We couldn't come to an agreement. But as a community, we have to be physically present for any future discussions. We cannot let anyone, we cannot take the assumption that anyone is going to negotiate on behalf of us without us being there.
Do you think that the disability rights movement has matured through the struggle to be included in the Canada Clause of the Constitution?
Definitely, Suzanne. I think when you have a threat against what equality of rights you have as a person, as a community, as a country, you come together, you fight together, you know your strengths and your weaknesses, but you learn, and you learn that you must be vigilant, that you're not going to let this happen to you again, and it's a good lesson, and it's been good for us.
Thanks for joining us on the show and sharing your views with us.
You're welcome.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to El Salvador.
A diplomat is forced to choose sides.
I'm trying to help these people.
If you really want to help them out, leave them alone.
An award-winning political thriller.
There is no need for alarm, señorita.
Real responsibility changes things. You're just about to find that out.
We have reached the point in which we are prepared to die.
Diplomatic Immunity, November 8th on CBC Television.
No, it's not Spain. It's not Portugal. Nor is it Mexico. It's Ontario, and a favorite spot for bullfighting fans. No one gets hurt, not even the bulls. They wear a Velcro vest. Join us for bullfighting Canadian style on the season premiere of On the Road Again at our new time, Tuesday at 7.
As Canada's public broadcaster, we're celebrating our service to you.
Look down there, though.
Look way up, and I'll call Rusty.
You watch too much American television.
I object.
CBC Television. We're proud to be part of your history.
I'm Peter Dent. Peter Mansbridge. This is Morley Sager.
Celebrating 40 years of public television for Canadians.
These are the survivors of the great herds that once roamed the prairies. Settlers moving west almost exterminated them. Today, a new threat faces the wild bison of Wood Buffalo National Park. there's a plan that calls for the slaughter of these magnificent animals. Watch The Last Survivors on the season premiere of The Nature of Things with David Suzuki, Wednesday at our new time, 8 p.m., 8:30 in Newfoundland.
People who are hard of hearing have largely had a difficult time getting their concerns addressed. Our next story focuses on a woman who is using her artistic talent to address one aspect of the problems she has encountered. In her small downtown studio, Mimi Shulman works at her trade. She's an artist, a jewelry maker. Her concentration is enormous, perhaps helped by the fact that she is hard of hearing.
The earwear that I'm working on is to fight the stigma attached with wearing hearing aids, because people at the moment, a lot of people try and hide their hearing impairment, they try and hide their hearing aid, they try and pass as hearing, and it just doesn't work.
So you need a new banana for your new hearing aid?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You want to take it off?
Okay.
Does this one work better than the old one?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to put your new banana on your new hearing aid. We've got an external audio input.
Yeah.
There you go. Try that one on. Great. Turn your head around. Let me have a look.
I felt that the hearing aid companies may have been putting more emphasis on making smaller hearing aids that didn't show, rather than making hearing aids that are more personal, that feel better to wear, that give you a sense of self-esteem and a feeling that you're wearing something to be proud of. What do you think about making them a little more personal, making them with something that you like on them?
It feels good to wear them.
You made like a pair of hands.
Yeah.
The sort of.
So like if I wouldn't understand, I'm like, pardon, what did you say?
So you had a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really important to be seen, to be identified as a person with a hearing loss, and it's just no big deal. It's no different than people who wear glasses. They became a fashion statement, 30 years ago. Hearing aids should go exactly the same route.
I like this one, it's pretty.
That's a nice one. That's sort of like a feather also.
Yeah.
Miss Shulman makes hearing aid covers for anyone who needs them. Young people have really taken to them.
Little Joanna, who before she got her banana wouldn't wear her hearing aid. And when she got home from school, she'd take it out, and now she wears it all the time, and she wears her banana, and the kids at school want to have one too. So what did the kids say when they saw your banana?
Can I have one too?
And what did you say?
I said, well, I think you have to have a hearing aid first.
Yeah. And I think if you're comfortable with your disability, then people will be comfortable with you.
Miss Shulman teaches classes to students with hearing problems. Her favorite topic? Communication rights for people who are hard of hearing.
I was in the TTC station, and I really had to call home, and I had to find a phone with a volume control on it. So I looked and looked, I couldn't find the volume control. And then I had to go on the other side of the tracks. And I found one phone with the volume control on it. And I don't like that.
When you see a person who's wearing a hearing aid, that should be a clue that this person is going to need certain things, and that's the other side of the story. The other side of the story is educating the public. So we have to both educate the hard of hearing community to be more assertive, and the public to understand the needs of the hard of hearing and the right to communication.
A right to communication. Miss Shulman was denied that right when she went to a restaurant with a friend. The background noise in her hearing aid was painful. When she politely asked nearby patrons to be a bit quieter,
they just looked at me like I was from Mars and just continued to make more and more noise. And when we left, they clapped and cheered and said, "Yay, they're gone." So I was angry.
When she talked to the manager, he said she had no right to complain. Eventually, she took her complaint to the Human Rights Commission.
Although they also don't have a right to turn me away, they suggested I try another ministry, another group, somewhere else. I should just take my problem and go away, even though they acknowledged it was a problem. And it took me a year to get the Human Rights Commission to finally accept a complaint. I think people really don't understand how to communicate with us well. I feel I should be able to have a conversation with a friend in a public place without it putting me in pain or leaving me unable to talk. We as hard of hearing people have a right to communication in public places or anywhere. And that really is the access issue for us. It's access the same as a person in a wheelchair getting into a building. That's their access issue. Ours is the right to communication.
Mimi Shulman has also organized an access committee. It's called Hear Hear. The committee deals with background noise in public service establishments. She has also convinced some restaurant reviewers to include noise level ratings in their reviews. For more information on special earwear or rights for people who are hard of hearing, drop us a line. We'll give you our address at the end of the show.
It's rush hour in Canada, people driving to work, but it's more than that. It's energy, economy, technology, and of course the environment. It's the relationship between all those things that make Grist for the Mill on What on Earth, weekday mornings on CBC television.
I'm Bill Paul.
And I'm Jackie Perrin.
The new season of Marketplace begins Tuesday with a nationwide test of fresh fish.
We'll have the surprising results of that test and much more as Marketplace returns Tuesday.
At a new time, 7:30, 8 in Newfoundland.
Monday on Witness, Dr. Peter, the television diary of a young Vancouver doctor's personal battle with AIDS.
This program is a story that's woven out of those diaries. Many different aspects of my life have been taped over the past 2 years. There have been changes, both positive and negative. But overall, it's been a lot of fun. And in many respects, I think it's helped me keep going.
Tuesday.
So boys.
Murray McLaughlin sings the songs of a pioneer, folk songwriter Wade Hemsworth. They're songs to remember, and they are all Canadian.
I like them because they're real. And they're some of the best songs and the most touching and affecting songs that I've ever heard.
North Shore, and I'm going home.
And I'm Going Home, the songs of Wade Hemsworth. Tuesday.
I knew where I wanted to go, but I couldn't forget where I was from.
From humble beginnings, a kid set out to become the best in the world.
According to Dad's expectations, there is no second best.
In a time of civil strife,
I can remember a couple of doormen looking at the bus like, they're not going to get off here.
Friends had to stick together.
There was a bond that is very hard to describe.
An inspiring portrait of Oscar Peterson.
People stop playing when Oscar comes in the room.
In the Key of Oscar, a 2-hour special, Sunday.
For people who are disabled, homeopathic medicine can provide an alternative to the traditional medical system. It can ultimately give someone with a disability more choice. But homeopathy has a long, controversial history. The royal family uses homeopathic remedies. Some people swear by it, but few doctors in Canada know much about it. 2 doctors in Nova Scotia who practice homeopathy are under investigation by the province's medical board. Glennie Langille brings us more on the story from Chester, Nova Scotia.
Well, today I'd like to do some more skin resistance measurement testing, okay?
Joan Scott can't remember the last time she felt completely well.
As you know, Joan, this is electrical acupuncture, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to test your skin for the electrical resistance.
Joan has environmental sensitivity. A whiff of aftershave, for instance, can make her pass out. She's been to dozens of specialists, but she says homeopathy has given her the most relief.
And then we're going to use different homeopathic remedies to see if that, when we put them in the magnetic circuit, if those will change the measurement of that electrical skin resistance.
You know what it is you're taking?
A little sugar pill.
That's right.
With the treatment in it. And high doses of vitamins. I know when I leave here, I really feel good to what I did before I came in.
This I've discovered that this remedy has some benefit to her, but there are...
Dr. Will LaValle and his partner are the only physicians in Nova Scotia to use homeopathic medicines and electroacupuncture.
In homeopathic medicine, we're using very, very small and dilute amounts of substances to stimulate the body's own capacity to heal itself. And that's the difference. It's not a chemical model. It's a model that's based on physics and electromagnetics, and it's stimulating the body to heal itself.
Many of the patients here have chronic conditions or chronic pain.
It's like I don't understand everything he does.
Yes.
But I know it works because I feel it. And it's like my husband was very, very skeptical, and he doesn't understand it even yet. And he says, look, he says, I don't understand it, and I don't really believe it, but I know what it does for you. I have seen what it's done for you. And he is the first person to say to me when I'm not well, go to Dr. Baker. And if you can't go by yourself, I will take you.
These machines are not found anywhere else in Nova Scotia. They use pulsed magnetic fields to ease pain. Patients pay for these services. They are not covered by Nova Scotia Medicare. Last fall, MSI did an audit of this office. MSI didn't like something it saw and laid a complaint with the province's medical board. Now Dr. LaValle and his partner, Dr. David Baker, are under investigation. Neither MSI nor the medical board will talk about the specifics of the complaint.
The only thing that I can understand is that they dismiss the electrical skin resistance measurements and the electroacupuncture combined with homeopathy. That is the electroacupuncture. It's combined with homeopathy. That's how it's practiced in Europe. That's what I think.
That combination which they don't like.
I think it's that issue because they have failed to educate themselves on how it's used, and so that what we're guilty of is being different, and so we're being attacked for that.
No one on the medical board has any experience in homeopathy or electroacupuncture, including its president.
Nevertheless, this is our responsibility. One of our major jobs, if you like, is protection of the public, to try to make sure that the brand of medicine being offered to the public in Nova Scotia is safe and acceptable and all that sort of thing. That's part of our job. We have to do it by legislation. Now, I agree with you that we need people who are more knowledgeable, and we will find them. I'm sure we will find them.
You have to go to Ontario to find a concentration of doctors who practice homeopathy. Dr. Zoltan Rona says such doctors have a long history of being misunderstood.
If you're going to evaluate the practice of a brain surgeon or a dermatologist, you would use, as the person doing the evaluation, a brain surgeon or dermatologist. You would not have a psychiatrist, for example, being evaluated by a general practitioner. So what these doctors have the right, I believe they have the right to be judged or assessed by another homeopath. And I think that in that sense they would receive an ethical and fair hearing or an evaluation.
Baker and LaValle are still practicing their unconventional and controversial medicine. The medical board investigation could drag on for months. For CBC News, I'm Glennie Langell in Chester.
The first round of hearings wasn't completed because the medical board failed to inform the doctors of the nature of the complaints. The medical board will start its hearings over again on November 6th. And that's our show. We'd like to hear your comments about today's program or any issues involving people with disabilities. I'm Susan Pettit-Crossman. See you again next week. And now here's our address. Disability Network, CBC, Box 500, Station A, Toronto, M5W1E6. Or you can fax us at 416-975-5636.
On Monday, timing will be everything.